In June of 2016, an Anaheim, California woman reported a terrifying crime. A stranger had shown up at her home to act out a violent rape fantasy. But what police discovered was something far more disturbing. It was far more sinister than anyone could have imagined. And it is something straight out of a nightmare, like one of the nightmares that you can't wake up from, and when you do, it takes you a while to get your head together and tell yourself that it was just a dream. It was one of those, guys. That is what this case did to our victim. It turned her life upside down and sparked a lawsuit against the Anaheim Police Department that was ultimately won. And guys, stay with me because this case has a lot of twists and turns, and just when you think you know the answer and who done it, you're blindsided by even more sinister facts and more disturbing facts that make you rethink and take another look at the case. So let's go ahead and dive right into this, guys. My name is Tony, and I want to welcome you to a brand new episode of Sinister Intent True Crime.
This is a bizarre Orange County love triangle.
This was her booking photo last summer when she was accused of stalking and harassing Angela Diaz, her former boyfriend's pregnant wife. Police said she even set up rape fantasy ads on Craigslist, posing as Diaz and directing men to sexually assault her.
It's often said that true life is stranger than fiction. The facts of this case make that statement spot on.
When the police came out, the victim of the assault, Angela Diaz, began telling the police a chilling story. Now, she told them that she was being harassed, threatened, and targeted, and she knew exactly who was behind it. She said that it was her husband's ex-fiancée, a woman by the name of Michelle Hadley, because she had started receiving emails from Michelle, and the messages, the emails that she received were disturbing, obsessive, and very, very violent, guys. Not only was she receiving the emails, but she was also receiving pictures as attachment of unborn babies, women with their heads cut off, things like that. Now, Angela told the police that she was pregnant. She was pregnant with twins, and that Michelle was threatening her unborn child. And like I said, she had started receiving these emails, and they were really disturbing. I'm going to read one of them to you just so you guys could get an idea of what exactly Angela was actually receiving from Michelle. This one says, "I hope you are scared of death tomorrow. Be prepared. Don't sleep. Be watchful of daughters of God. We will steal your child, and we will watch as it dies. He's using you for everything. Don't you see this? He's obsessed with me. I'm his treasure princess, and you are nothing." So guys, Angela and Ian had just gotten married the year before. So to get these type of emails was alarming, to say the least. Now, Angela worked for a law firm as a lawyer, and her husband, Ian Diaz, he worked as a deputy U.S. Marshal, which is a pretty big job. So they're in charge of handling like federal warrants and things like that. So it's pretty big job that he had. Now, when the police came out, they told the police that they had been harassed, they had been stalked, that Angela's babies were being threatened, and that they knew that it was his ex-fiancée, Michelle Hadley. Now, Ian, being a deputy U.S. Marshal, would also occasionally go to the police station and talk to the officers, and he would always have his uniform on when he went in, just to kind of get a status of the case. But police did issue a restraining order, and it was quickly granted against Michelle. She was ordered to stay away from Angela and Ian both. And just like that, guys, Michelle Hadley was being painted as a dangerous ex that was trying to get revenge on a love that she lost and his new love. Now, even with the restraining order in place, though, guys, things quickly escalated because posts began appearing on Craigslist, guys. And in the beginning, I told you guys that that's how this started. Someone came out to Angela and Ian's house and tried to play out a violent rape fantasy. So the Craigslist ads that were on there, they described violent sexual fantasies, and the author of those was Michelle Hadley. What she did is she invited strangers to come into, it was supposed to be her home, but it was Angela and Ian's home. Angela Diaz and Ian Diaz, her ex-fiance and his new wife. It was their home. So what she did is she invited strangers to come to the Diaz home and act out these fantasies. And she made it very clear in those ads that she was going to try to resist. And even if she said no, that that's not what she meant, to please go ahead and go forth with this fantasy. I have a fantasy of being sexually assaulted, and I want you to do this. So For any of you guys that have been on Craigslist or any type of, or you have seen any type of thing like that, those ads get answered pretty quickly, you know. So it did. And the scary part, guys, is on June the 24th, 2016, everything came crashing down because Angela had called 911. She said a man had attacked her in her garage. And again, she blamed Michelle's online post. This is the second trip out there, guys. But this time, a 17-year-old boy showed up, and she said that she seen him before he actually got to her. Angela said she seen him before he got to her, and she went ahead and got on the phone with 911. And again, she told the police, hey, this is his ex-fiance doing this. She's trying to get me raped. She's trying to have my unborn children hurt. You know, we've got a restraining order against her. We got one put out, and now she's continuing this, and now somebody showed up at my house to have this violent rape fantasy with me, and I didn't do it. So needless to say, once that happened, guys, the police did issue an arrest warrant for Michelle. And I want to add this. Whenever they originally served Michelle with the restraining order, I just want to say this. She was very, very confused, and she adamantly denied any of it. She said, I have no reason to contact Angela. I have no reason to contact Ian. I didn't do this. Yes, that is my email address. It does look like it come from my email address because they showed her the emails. And she said, but it's not me. I did not do that. I have no reason to do that. But the police did not believe her, and they said, well, the restraining order is going to stick. Here you are, you're served, don't go around them. Fast forward about a month, there's another attack that happens, guys. And that's when the 17-year-old boy showed up, answering the Craigslist ad. I have a lot of things to say about that as a 17-year-old. What are you doing on Craigslist answering ads? But needless to say, this poor boy got involved in something that I guarantee he probably will never answer an online ad again. And to my knowledge, I couldn't find anything that said that he was arrested or any charges were filed because he was 17. But I'm quite sure he got a really stern talking to. So like I said, guys, the police did actually issue an arrest warrant, and they did go arrest Michelle Hadley. And basically what they said is that they believe that Michelle Hadley was actually orchestrating sexual violence against her ex-fiance's new wife, guys. So she was charged with multiple felonies, okay? She was charged with stalking, threats, and even attempted sexual assault for putting the Craigslist ad in the paper, in there or online, and then having someone come out and try to fulfill that fantasy. So she was also charged with attempted sexual assault. And guys, like I said, keep in mind, Michelle was really, really shocked at this, and she never wavered on her denial of it. Now, she did admit that she had sent Ian, her ex-fiance, some emails in the beginning when they first broke up that did reference some weird things, but they weren't threatening. They were more of a religious nature. Michelle is a self-described goody two-shoes, so spirituality is really important to her, and she had sent some things that had to do with God and some biblical things that did sound kind of off and kind of weird, and she did admit up to that, but she said the other stuff that she has no idea, and she had no reason to send that or do that. So she was thoroughly, or she seemed, let me say that, she seemed to be very, very, very convincing in her innocence. I'll just say that. So as convincing as Michelle's story is, guys, it still doesn't lead us into the answer of why. Why is this happening? If she is indeed stalking and threatening, why is this happening? Is it jealousy or is it something else? To uncover that, guys, I need to tell you about Michelle and Ian's relationship. So Ian Diaz was in a relationship with Michelle before he got married to Angela, okay? So they were in a relationship, guys, and they were actually once engaged, okay? She was his fiance, and they actually shared a home in Anaheim. It was a condo. Now, they purchased this condo together, but here's the thing. Michelle put the down payment on the condo, okay? It was about $14,000 that she put down on the condo, but the deed was also in Ian's name, so it was in Michelle and Ian's name. Now, they were together, you know, seemed happy enough, so it shouldn't be a big deal. Ideally, when you do that, you're trying to move toward marriage, right? And she was his fiance. Now, the problem with that, though, is the relationship fell apart, guys. So when that relationship fell apart, it went out in fire, okay? It wasn't a good ending, and they got into it over the condo, okay? Because he wanted to stay in the condo, and understandably, she wanted to stay in the condo because she had put all this money down on the condo, so she felt like she should be able to stay in it. So it was a court battle, and ultimately they did agree on and decide that Ian would stay in that condo, but the stipulation was that if he ever sold the condo, that he did have to give her half of the profits, and he did have to work on assuming the loan into his name for that condo. So he had to have his credit good enough to where he could take over the loan or get the loan, a mortgage put in his name. And in the meantime, if he did happen to sell it before then, or if he had to sell it because he couldn't get it in his name, then Michelle would be entitled to the $14,000 that she put down, as well as half of any profit that they made from the house, which to me, in my opinion, is fair enough, right? So that was talked about, that was investigated. Is money the motive in this? Is she wanting, you know, him and Angela out of that condo so she can move back into it? Is she not wanting to wait until he possibly sells it? What is it? So at this point, they're looking at Michelle real hard. Keep in mind, guys, she is locked up, okay? Remember, they served her a restraining order for the first attempt along with the emails, and then the 17-year-old come out there and they violated the restraining order on Michelle and locked her up. And listen to this, they have her this time under a $1 million bond. Now, she's still denying all of this, guys. She's begging the police, she's begging investigators, please, what IP address is the email coming from? I know that that's my email, but I'm telling you, I've never sent them an email. Please look into it. Her family believes her, family and friends believe her. But this is the thing, with a $1 million bail, because the judge thought that she was a danger to society and a danger to Angela and her unborn children, the family did not have the money to put her bail up and hire an attorney, and she needed a good attorney, guys. So they basically told her, we can do one or the other, but we can't do both. And being a smart person that she was, she did say, hey, temporarily I'm just going to have to stay in here. I would rather get a good attorney, because, guys, what they had her charged with, especially with her violating this order and the fact that they got her for attempted sexual assault, she was looking at life in prison. So I would have done the same thing. I would have said, no, 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 please don't put up any money to get me out. Don't put money on my books. Please hire me a good attorney. And that's exactly what Michelle did, and that's what her family did for her. So as the police are investigating and actually looking a little bit further into the case, as they should have done from the start, as they're investigating and talking, Michelle shed some light on her and Ian's relationship and how it actually ended. And I need to tell you guys this because it's important to the case, okay? So Michelle and Ian were in a relationship, okay? And they bought the condo together. She put the down payment. They lived together in the condo. Everything seemed okay, except for Ian started getting very controlling. He would want to know where she was, what she was doing, if she left the house, where she was going, things like that. He got very controlling over Michelle. Made her a little uncomfortable. But this wasn't the worst part. The worst part was this, guys. Ian had some kind of sick fantasy of watching another man have sex with his woman, okay? And he had persistently begged Michelle to do this. He had begged her to have a man come out, have sex with her while he watched. And she adamantly, like I said, guys, she was a good, self-proclaimed good girl, so she was adamant, no, I don't want to do that. You know, you're my fiance, I don't want to have sex with someone else. But one weekend, guys, she was sick. She had a really bad illness, and she was on a lot of medication. And for any of you guys that take medication, especially like cold medicine, things like NyQuil, things like that, it can make you really groggy. And if not groggy, it can make you almost feel like you're in a bubble or a fog. And that's what was happening to Michelle, right? She didn't feel well, she was sick, and Ian was kind of taking care of her. But listen to this, while she was sick, he didn't care. What he did is he started on her again about having a man come and have sex with her. And she was out of it and just sick and tired of having to argue with him and tell him no on this. She just said, fine, whatever, I'll do it. Ian wasted no time putting an ad in Craigslist. I did say Craigslist. He put an ad in Craigslist to have a man come and sleep with his woman, to come and sleep with Michelle. And like I said earlier, guys, those ads don't stay up long before people start answering them. And sure enough, a man came to the house, and once they got him arranged and everything, Ian went in the bathroom, and watched as this man did his business with his fiance, and that was Michelle. Now, after this, Michelle said that she got up and she felt absolutely sick to her stomach, and she did not feel good about it. I wouldn't either. I probably would have had a nervous breakdown. I can't imagine doing that. So I don't know what she had to have felt like, but I'm sure she felt very dirty, and that's what she told him. She said, I don't feel like I just had sex with someone. I feel like I have been assaulted, like I feel dirty. And that's understandable. I would feel the same way. And as a woman, and any of you women that are listening to this, I'm sure you're thinking the same thing I'm thinking, which is, ew, yuck. And I would immediately divorce my husband or fiance or boyfriend or whoever it was. And that's exactly what she did, guys. She got the heck away from him. And that is what caused the dispute. He did not want to leave the condo. She didn't want to leave the condo, but she could not be with this man anymore. And that's what they agreed upon. So Ian stays in the condo. Very quickly, he moves on with Angela. Him and Angela get married. She gets pregnant with twins. And Michelle is living on her own. But I want to add this, guys. Michelle's family said that before Ian, she was very lively. She was happy, very content. After all of this happened, they've seen a drastic change in Michelle. Okay, she was not the same person that she was before. And that's understandable, knowing what we know now, but they didn't know this, but they did see a noticeable change in Michelle. So while they did not believe that she was doing this, it was kind of easy for the police to believe maybe she's just really upset about, losing the condo. Maybe she's jealous, everything they were thinking of that could possibly be the reason that Michelle did this, because she did kind of change. Her personality changed after her and Ian broke up, but they didn't know why. So Michelle's telling them, hey, this is why we broke up. This is the kind of person that Ian is, and I am not sending these emails. I have no reason to do that. I want nothing to do with him. I don't have anything against Angela, his wife. I don't have anything to do with this. And she's still, even in jail, she was in jail for 3 months, guys, almost 3 months, 88 days, and she maintained her innocence the entire time. And guys, I need to also tell you about Angela now. Okay, the woman, his wife that's pregnant with twins, that's living in the condo, that's getting the harassing emails, that had 2 attempts of rape attempted on her. Men came to the house to attempt rape, or to fulfill this rape fantasy with her, right? So I need to let you know about her, because in some of those emails, guys, and I want to add this, the emails and the Craigslist ads kept happening while Michelle was locked up. Just keep that in mind. They did not stop when Michelle was. They would stop briefly and then they would start back up. But just keep that in mind, guys. So more about Angela Diaz. So Angela got emails, and some of those emails were signed by someone named Jason. Okay? It's really random, I know, but just stick with me here, okay? So the emails, they instead of being signed coming from Michelle, they were signed coming from someone named Jason. Now, Angela brought this up to the police when she said, hey, this Michelle Hadley lady is sending me emails. It's my husband's ex, and this email, now I'm getting emails that's coming from a guy named Jason. Jason was her ex that she used to live with, okay? So she's saying, and I know him, he was my ex, and this does not sound like him. The writing in the emails sounded just like the ones that had come from Michelle previously, right? So the wording was pretty much the same, but it was signed from Jason. And she told the police, she was like, that is not him talking. I know how he talks. I was with him. We were together. And that's not him. That is Michelle. So she stood by that. Angela stood by that. But let me tell you about her and Jason, okay? It's going to all start coming together for you now. So Jason was her ex. Let me tell you what happened with him. This was before Angela and Ian got together, right? So you have Michelle and Ian together, and then you have Jason and Angela together. When Jason and Angela first met, they moved really quickly. And I want to tell you why they moved quickly. They moved quickly because Angela told Jason that she had cervical cancer and she was really sick and she needed help taking care of herself. So Jason, being a good guy that he seemed nice enough, even though he had a special needs son that he was taking care of, he invited Angela to move in with him. And it wasn't, oh my gosh, we're so in love, we're going to be together forever type of thing. It was, I love you, I care about you, you need somebody to help you, I'm willing to do that. So that was the agreement that they had, right? But listen to this, guys. The agreement, whenever he said that was, you need help going back and forth to your chemo appointments because she was on chemotherapy or she was getting ready to go on chemotherapy. You're going to need help with that. I can drive you back and forth to your appointments because you're going to be tired and sick. Just genuinely be a good person, right? But listen, she would never let him drive her to the chemotherapy appointments, okay? And in the beginning, and a lot of people do this, so this wasn't really anything to bat an eye at, but she did shave her head in the beginning because her thought was, what a lot of people's thought is, I'm not going to let the chemo take my hair. I'm going to be proactive and I'm going to go ahead and shave it. She did that, which to me is not unusual. A lot of people do that, especially women, because it's hard for us when we lose our hair. So she had shaved her head and she was driving herself to and from the chemotherapy appointments. And Jason thought that was weird, and she had a friend that kind of thought that was weird too. Another thing that was weird was this. When someone goes through chemotherapy, and everyone's different, I know this, but a lot of times their hair doesn't grow back the same, or it'll grow back in patches, or it doesn't grow back even and beautiful and full all the time, right? Hers did. And not only was it growing back even, full, and pretty, it was growing back quickly. Sometimes it takes like a year after chemo for your hair to fully come in all the places, and sometimes it never comes back the same. But with Angela, she didn't have any of that. Another thing with Angela is that she wasn't like sick. She wasn't really tired. Now, she said that she wasn't going to let cancer get her down, and she was going to keep doing everything that she, done before and everything. So that could excuse her energy, I guess. But also, when you have cancer and you're going through chemotherapy, there's a certain diet, there's a lot of foods, including sugars and things, that you have to cut out. She did none of that. So understandably to Jason and then her friend, it was suspicious. Like, you're not sick, you're not going through any of the things that people normally go through. You won't let me take you to an appointment. So what he did is one day he rode by and to see when she was supposedly at an appointment, he rode to see if she was there. Guys, she wasn't there. She wasn't. And her friend actually asked her, hey, if you have cancer, because they had questioned her about it, and of course her response is, of course I have cancer, why would I lie about something like that? So her friend said, okay, well then let me see your port. So whenever someone has cancer, and I had one, I had an infection that required IV antibiotics for 2 weeks, so they'll put a port in you. I had one, a PICC line in my arm, but cancer patients, they normally put a port in their chest, and it's because they have to go get the chemotherapy and other drugs, and instead of them being stuck all the time, it's permanent. It goes straight to their bloodstream, and it injects the chemotherapy. So by all means, she would have had a port because she would have had to be able to get through chemotherapy. She said, no, I'm not going to show you the port. You know why? She said no, because she didn't have a port. Because you know why? Because Angela Diaz never had cancer. Okay? And this is what was discovered from the Jason guy about that relationship. So now we have another person in this who is supposedly sending emails to this Angela, and the police are like, well, why would he do that? Does he want her back? Is he trying to ruin their relationship? Like, why would he be sending her threatening emails, these weird emails? It just didn't make sense, and obviously it wasn't well thought out, I'll just say that. So now basically we have a man who had his fiance sleep with a stranger, that's Ian, okay? He talked her into it basically and got her when she was sick, and not only that, one from Craigslist. So we have now his wife Angela, who is married to him, who has moved into the condo, his and Michelle's condo, with him, and is now pregnant with twins. And they are both insisting that his ex-fiance is harassing and stalking them and threatening them and having people come attack her and trying to hurt her babies, right? And remember, guys, I told you earlier that Ian was a deputy U.S. Marshal, and he would go into the police station to check the status of the case and kind of see where they are with things with it, right? He'd always wear his uniform in there. Guess what he did, guys? In the middle of all this, Michelle's locked up. Angela's over here terrified for her life because she don't know what's going to happen. Ian goes to the police station to talk to them. And guys, what he said blew everything wide open. You got to hear this. For those of you that may have not already figured it out, I'm going to tell you something. Number one, Angela Diaz is not pregnant with twins. That was a lie. Number two, Ian went up there and told the police that he thinks that Angela, his wife, is the one behind this harassment, stalking, and Craigslist stuff with Michelle, his ex-fiance. So basically what he did was he ran and told it before Angela or Michelle could get the truth out. Okay? Now, I don't think Angela was going to come up with the truth. However, Ian wanted to make sure that he got to the punchline first. However, that backfired on him because, in essence, basically what he did is he told on himself. So you think that she was doing this, and then you've got these emails. When the police started investigating, because at this point you had Michelle saying, I didn't do this, please check the IP address, I don't know what you're talking about, all this stuff. Angela's insistent on it. Ian saying, hey, you know what, I don't think it's Michelle, I think it's my wife, Angela. So they start digging deeper, which they should have already done, because if they had have, none of this would be happening. So when they start digging deeper, guys, when they start tracing those emails, the email address, the IP address, and I do want to add this on the police's behalf, it does take a while to trace IP addresses, and now so many people have VPNs, like a virtual private network, which they did, the Diaz's did have that. So sometimes it can take months to get those records back, and depending on who it's through, they have to go through multiple carriers or multiple networks to be able to get it. So it does take time to trace those IP addresses. But let me tell you this, when they did that, guess where the IP addresses, guess where those emails were coming from? They were coming from Ian, and they were coming from Angela. Basically, Angela was sending herself threatening emails. Ian was putting the ads on Craigslist. Remember, guys, I pointed out Craigslist earlier when I told you that he put an ad on there for Michelle, for a man to come sleep with her. Yeah, he put an ad on Craigslist for Angela, for somebody to come and rape her with a rape fantasy. But Angela's not a victim because Angela was in on all of it. Now, at this point, they still don't know what the motive is. They have a good idea as to why this has been done, but they're still trying to unravel everything. And get this, they finally decided, hey, maybe we should look at some surveillance. Maybe they have surveillance around their house, or maybe some neighbors have surveillance around the house, and we can see, now that we think somebody may be lying, we can see if someone actually came to the house on those times that Angela called 911 and said someone attacked her. Now, we know for sure the 17-year-old came out there, right? Listen to this. The first attack, guys, no one came to the house. There was no one there. No one came in or out of the house. It was only Angela there. So they, at that point, said, hey, she probably did this to herself. She had like scratch on her chest. She had some marks around her neck and stuff. And she had to have just done that to herself. That was the conclusion that they were starting to come to, because none of it at this point was making sense, especially when those emails originated from the IP address that was at Angela and Ian's house. So in January of 2017, guys, the truth finally came out, and Angela Diaz was arrested, and the charges against Michelle Hadley were dropped, completely dropped. But not before she did 88 days in jail. And that was traumatizing, guys. I'm going to talk a little bit about that later, but that's traumatizing. And prosecutors revealed a list of deceptions, guys. It was fake emails, fake police reports, because remember, she called the police out there several times, a fake pregnancy, because it come out she was not pregnant at all. And then, of course, we had the cancer diagnosis, or the fake cancer diagnosis, that was before Ian, but it's still relevant to set up or determine what Angela's character is. And as you're starting to see, she's not a great person. So Angela Diaz was actually sentenced to 5 years in state prison on October the 18th, 2017. And she was convicted of the following offenses, guys. Just bear with me. 2 counts of kidnapping, and this was based on the false reports that led to Hadley's arrest and nearly 90 days of incarceration. Remember, I told you guys 88 days that Michelle was incarcerated. 2 counts of false imprisonment by menace, fraud, or deceit. And what that comes from is that's relating to the detention of Michelle Hadley through fraudulent claims. 1 count of perjury, and that's for providing false statements under oath during the investigation and legal proceedings. They also said that she had forged 2 documents, 2 doctor's notes, and paychecks to further the deception. So they got 2 counts of forgery on there. 2 counts of possession of a forged check over $950. Now, this is specifically altering an employer's check by adding $2,000 and foregoing a paycheck from Orange County. Now, that really has nothing to do with the case, but it does show the type of person that she is, her level of deception and the things that she does. That's why I'm going through these charges with you guys. They also got her with 1 count of grand theft, which is connected to the financial fraud discovered during the investigation, what we just talked about. And listen to this, guys, 22 counts, misdemeanor counts, of falsely reporting a crime. And that's for repeatedly calling the Anaheim Police Department to report fake harassment and stage incident. But guys, of course, the story didn't end there. Ian Diaz, the former Deputy U.S. Marshal, was convicted on March the 23rd, 2023, and he was actually sentenced on June the 30th, 2023. So what he was sentenced to was 10 years. Now, Angela was only sentenced to 5 years. He was sentenced to 10 years, and I know there's discrepancy there, and there's always that thing of male versus female and the incarceration rates. But now with him, they gave him 10 years and 1 month in federal prison, so his was federal versus state, and then it's followed by 3 years of supervised release. And I also want to tell you guys this. Michelle Hadley did file a lawsuit against the city of Anaheim, and I'm happy to say she did win that lawsuit. It was very, very traumatizing for her. I mean, she was diagnosed with complex PTSD after this because she went through nothing short of hell trying to convince people that she did not do this, and they almost was able to get away with it.
Obviously, this has been a huge nightmare for me, the most traumatic experience of my life, and I'm glad it's finally over. I have a lot of friends and a lot of family who know me very well, and when they saw this in the media, they already knew I didn't do it, and they believed it even before the truth came out. So I think as far as my close circle, it's not going to be hard to rebuild my reputation, and I'm hoping that it just grows from there.
But Michelle claimed that investigators ignored evidence that would have cleared her sooner. And the city eventually settled, guys, but no settlement amount was given, and definitely couldn't erase what happened, the jail time, the incarceration, and just the trauma that Michelle experienced with all of this going on. So to close this out, guys, I want to give you my opinion on this. And I know this case is a little bit different than what I normally do. No one actually died in this case. No one was killed in this case. But I wanted to talk about it because it kind of goes along with what we talk about a lot on this channel, which is domestic violence. And the fact that Ian had Michelle sleep with another man so he could watch, and then was willing to put his wife out there, put a ad out on Craigslist and have someone come and rape her. Because at the end of the day, who's to say that he would have been there whenever that happened? So what was he going to do? Just let the man rape her? And Angela, you were okay with that? Like, why would you even agree to? I don't care what the reason is. I don't care how mad you are at someone or how much you don't want to have to give her half if you sell the condo. I don't care. I would never agree to something like that. So for me, it's just like, these people are nuts. I couldn't even, I had to do it, guys. I had to do this story because when I started listening to it and reading it, I was like, what? You've got to be kidding me. And then I worked really hard to try to put it together just so you guys could understand the order in which it happened, because it was just so much happening at one time, and it was just absolutely crazy. But my opinion and my advice on this is just don't lie. Don't do people wrong. Don't lie. Don't fake pregnancies. Don't fake cancer. Don't do any of that. Just generally be a good person. Just try to be a good person, guys. And in being a good person, I really would like for you to make sure that you become a member of my channel. So if you will, hit that join button and become a member. You guys know in a few weeks I'm going to Vegas and I'm going to be at CrimeCon. I am going to do some exclusive footage for my members, so you guys don't want to miss out on that. I will be there and I will be filming what I can for you there. If you can't become a member of the channel, it's okay, I understand. Please just make sure that you subscribe, that you like, leave me a comment, tell me what you think about this case and all the other cases that I did. Also share the video, that helps. It helps get my video out there, it helps get me in the algorithm, so I would really appreciate if you guys do that for me. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and close this out and remind you to love those who love you back always. Don't waste one single minute of time on things or people that don't matter. And thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Sinister Intent True Crime.